they'll be off. Wait for the light to go out. Here we go.
So it's Mackinnon in lane one, the longer outside leg. So we'll see McRae looking like he's getting ahead. He's going to come down to the jump. McRae will jump just before Mackinnon splashes. This is spectacular from McRae on the very inside. First gear hairpin, Mackinnon slightly longer round the outside, that's second gear probably. Now they look like they're neck and neck, but McRae's about to go over a bridge as Tommy Mackinnon goes under the bridge.
We'll see the split time in a moment. There'll be different times though. There's Colin into the mud, going round that hairpin bend there. Colin McRae 46 seconds, Tommy Mackinnon 49 seconds, 3 seconds between them.
But now this is when Mackinnon's going to start catching. Of course, McRae's the one with nothing to lose. Spectacular through the water splash. Mackinnon is the catch-up man. Spooked out maybe by the Pipers at the start-finish line. In fact, the start-finish line, he had a chance to do a Schumacher and take McRae out, but he chose not to. Real sportsman in rallying.
Just remember that they time rallying in seconds. We won't see tenths of seconds, so it may just be that they'll finish slightly apart but be given the same time. Let's see how they come over the start-finish.
One corner to go. Who's it to be to win the very first World Championship Rally Sprint in Britain here at Silverstone? McRae on the inside's going to take it.
Well, there you see Tommy Mackinnon 134, Colin McRae 133. That was spectacular stuff. Here we are, Mackinnon and Carlos Sainz. There they go.
Sainz on the outside line then.
Yes, Carlos Sainz on the outside into the puddle there, sliding around a bit. Mackinnon just looks so effortless through the splash for Carlos.
Mackinnon, of course, the man who's won this rally twice before. It's one of his favourite rallies. He's going to be leading the Ford's team in the 1998. Sainz moving on.
Yes, Carlos Sainz is going to drive for Toyota next year, and they're calling the pace notes in there, Juha Repo and Juha Kankkunen, and they call them in English. Two Finns, but they call them in English because Juha's always done it that way.
So Kankkunen's going to come round looking like he's in the lead, power sliding. Always the Ford Escort looks neat. The Subarus are very, very sideways, oversteering cars.
Kankkunen's split is 46 seconds. That's exactly the same as Colin and
indeed 49 Carlos Sainz, the same as Mackinnon. So identical times as we've seen in that opening round.
Well, we did say it was going to be close. If that matches up at the end, there'll be no more than a second between the two of them.
All Sainz very neat around that incredibly tight first gear here, but now here comes catch-up time. Kankkunen takes this long loop that takes him power sliding to go underneath the bridge.
Remember, Colin McRae 1 minute 33, Tommy Mackinnon 1 minute 34. Those are the times they're looking to beat.
I think it's the inside line's going to win again. It's going to be 2 victories from lane 1. We don't know why that is, but it is.
And it's exactly identical. Now on the left of your screen, in the Mitsubishi, here they go.
So Richard Burns in the least favoured lane 1, the outside lane to start off with. And I think a lot of people would love to see Richard Burns get right up the top of this rally, maybe not win it this time, make his first World Championship win, because that would spoil Colin's party. But Richard Burns, of course, local to Silverstone, so he's probably got a lot of friends here watching him around this spectacular, super special stage.
Probably been overlooked as Richard with all Colin's success, but he's right at the very top end of world rallying, and if he can drive for all 14 rounds next year, then who knows. Ideal teammate over, and there's Richard Burns going under the bridge.
Didier Auriol, of course, using this new, almost like a Formula 1 gear change they've got in this Toyota. It's just, oh, he's out wide on McRae's mud, we'll call the outside of that corner. Whilst Burnsy, there he is, he's got to catch up the inside. As I said, Auriol using this almost electronic gear shift, exactly the same times for those 2 lanes as we've seen on the opening runs. These top drivers, of course, you'd expect them to be this close. But that's through the splash. I think Burns is closer than anybody's ever been. I think this could be the first win for lane 1 as Richard Burns swings the Mitsubishi into that tightest of hairpins. No, he's got a bit wide.
I remember the time we're looking for, 1 minute 33, the quickest, Colin McRae and Juha Kankkunen. And there's Auriol and there's Burns going over the top, coming into this final bend.
Go on, Burnsy. I don't think he's going to make it again. Auriol's on the tight inside line. They're going to stop the clocks.
Identical times, 1 minute 34 seconds, which just goes to show how closely these guys are driving. Liati in the blue Subaru, Gronholm the Finn in the Toyota, the multicolored Toyota, and there they go.
Piero Liati, considered by some to be a tarmac specialist, but he's really shown in some of these loose stages that he's an all-round rally driver that's going to be a real force to contend with on next year's World Rally Championship. And certainly his car control, we've seen him up at the indoor arena in Birmingham at the Motorsport Show in January. It's spectacular to the nth degree, and here he's got a bit wide there. He's lost time there in the Subaru.
His best performances as he comes over the bridge have been on tarmac this year. He won in Monte Carlo, he would have won in San Remo, but stood aside to allow Colin McRae to come through. Gronholm, you know, from one of these flying Finnish rallying families his father drove, and we'll see the splits now. Liati 47 seconds, Gronholm 49. That's not as quick as Colin McRae, Carlos or Richard Burns.
Yeah, it's the same. It's an equal time for Lates. Liati is the one that's dropped a second. So Liati, with that mistake we saw coming out of the hairpin, is now, yes, Gronholm very close. Normally they'd be split by before. Liati's going to lose this one, I think, by a fair few seconds.
Just to remind you, the fastest time, 1:33.
Gronholm made the same mistake. It's him coming out of the tight hairpin. There's a tricky little left hand that's catching people out there.
Liati under, Gronholm over. It's Liati in the blue, Gronholm in the white, red and green Toyota. Coming into this final bend, very nasty on the inside. We were driving around it yesterday. And Marcus Gronholm, 1 minute 34. That's 1 second slower than the fastest time. So it's Ari Vatanen and Bruno Thierry.
Two Fords taking off, and two different styles. Vatanen, very flamboyant, but very sort of, I was going to say, very smooth and flowing as he bounces it off the bank. Thierry quite aggressive looking. When you see him in the cockpit, he's hunched over the steering wheel, but he's the one that seems to have set off best, except he's made a botch of that hairpin.
Ari Vatanen, one of the great personalities of world rallying, wherever he drives. Very, very popular man.
In fact, a bit of a grudge match though. Vatanen had sort of slight hopes of that Ford drive.
Yes, he did.
He could be a bit jealous of Thierry.
Yes, he did have. We spoke to him down in San Remo several weeks ago. He said, I really would love to come back. Let's see how he does on the split. Neither of them are going to be quicker than the leaders. Thierry 47, and poor old Ari looks like he has a real problem. 51 seconds. That's the slowest we've seen so far. Thierry goes through the water splash. Ari goes over the jump.
Vatanen catching up quite well. He was catching up quite well until, again, that very tight first in hairpin caught him out, and that's going to cost him 2 or 3 seconds.
Just shows the top drivers took it so smoothly. Somebody as experienced as Vatanen sliding all over the place. 1:33, remember the time they're aiming for. I don't think either of them are going to beat that. It's the fastest time. Vatanen takes that very wide into the mud. 1:37 for Thierry, 1:38 for Vatanen. So the Belgian, Gregoire de Mévius, and the Japanese, Masao Kamioka, second here last year.
And de Mévius has sprinted out of lane 2. He's really going for a flyer, leaping over the crest. Now here's that tricky hairpin, beautifully done. That's the way. You've got to keep the nose of the car right into the apex, round the bank on the inside of that corner.
De Mévius, 4th in Portugal, 7th in Acropolis. Car prepared over here by Mike Little. And there's Kamioka under the bridge. They asked him last year, you know, is everything okay? He said yes. And they said, how are you finding the language difference? And he said, yes. There's a split to Mévius 46. Now that's as quick as we've seen anyone around here today. And Kamioka 52, which is as slow as we've seen anybody around here.
And de Mévius was really beautifully controlled around that tight hairpin, and he's right on Colin McRae's pace. A driver with a lot of experience. He's done a lot of Formula 2 driving with front-wheel drive cars. Again, they see how he's kept the nose in very neatly to get the traction. He doesn't go out wide into the sludge as Kamioka does yet again. And this is going to be a big win for de Mévius, and a very impressive time. I can see this equaling the McRae-Mäkinen time.
1 minute 33 seconds, that's the benchmark for one of these very good Belgian rally drivers. coming around that final tight hairpin. And let's see what the time is. 1:35 for Demevius, so he dropped a couple of seconds on the second half split, and Kamioka 1:39. So
watch this. He was giving it all, but he's already left the Medinis at the start.
Yeah, we liked him this morning, didn't we, seeing him going around the corners?
Of course, that's the earlier special stage. We're talking about stages 3 and 4 that held within inside the Grand Prix circuit. Over the jump there for the Medeginis. In the lead at the moment as we come to this slippier. Holovitz got sliding in on an understeer that turns to an oversteer.
It looks very slippy and muddy up there, doesn't it? Very, very slippy and muddy. Over and under, almost together. And there's your friend, Mr. Holovitz, Poland. Eastern European drivers doing very, very well on World Championship time. Let's see the splits. Holovitz 48 seconds. Well, Medeghini just 2 seconds off that. Once again, a couple of seconds adrift of what McRae was doing.
Well, he's letting me down now, Holovitz. Holovitz is 2 seconds off that lane pace, whereas Medeghini is only 1 second down. So, and the race between these two, I think it's the Italian pairing that seem to be ahead on the clock. Indeed, coming down to this tight hairpin, if Medeghini can just get round and get the traction and get into that left end of the bank on the outside. A lot of people have been clipping there. This is going to be very tight indeed. Holovitz seems to have made up ground as he goes under the bridge. Medeghini is meanwhile over the bridge. This one's going to be very tight on the head-to-head finish.
And it's becoming like racing, isn't it? The crowd looks to be really enjoying this. 1 minute 33 seconds, remember that benchmark time. There you are, Holovitz 3 seconds off, and Medeghini 4 seconds off. And he's the only Volkswagen in the field, the distinctive yellow, Alistair McRae.
So McRae's now got a time to beat. He's got the Formula 2 best time of 1 minute 39 set by Mark Higgins, because of course this rally is about 8 rallies within a rally. It's 8 different classes, so each one has a winner at the end of the 3 days, and there's a huge battle between these front-wheel drive 2-litre drivers. See McRae getting out there, traction so hard to find with the front-wheel drive car, whilst the 4-wheel drive Subaru has gone rorting around the outside of him.
Spare a thought for Colin and Alistair's mum, Margaret, who's got to watch her sons, 2 of her 3 sons, and her husband Jimmy, who's going to be driving in a moment. She hasn't a clue who to cheer for. I'm sure really deep down she'd want to see Colin do best. Colin to go on and win the World Championship. So let's see the split. 50 seconds for Alistair, slower than the 4-wheel drive ones, but quicker than Navarra. And remember, 1:39 is the time we're looking for him to beat to be the fastest F2.
McRae takes the splash. Navarra's round the inside with 4-wheel drive, and the traction coming out still isn't good enough. It's getting so slippery there. I think Navarra may win this heat, but the big question really for competitors in the 2-litre classes, can McRae stop the clock at less than 1 minute 39, the time set by young Mark Higgins, the British champion?
Here they go, that's Navarra in the blue car on the outside, Alistair on the inside, all twitched a bit going around there. 1:39 for Navarra and 1:41 for Alistair. Robbie Head, Gwyndaf Evans, 2 of the best of British.
We don't hope one of them just go off here, because right where on the inside there where we see Gwyndaf and the Seat, there's the bank between the 2 tracks. It's almost like a launching ramp with the centre car barrel rolling over the top. A lot of hazards on the inside of the corners. There's tyres embedded into the banking, which you catch the inside wheel will flip the car up onto 2 wheels. So as it looks like a nice slide in a country field, there's lots of hidden little hazards around this course. So you've got to be precise, you've got to be neat. And these two, as we've said before, and we'll continue to say, it's the time is overall the rally, but they will want to beat each other in this little race.
And Robbie Head has a lot to prove this year, because he has been driving for Renault. He's lost his drive for them next year. Rumours that he might be driving for Ford in 1998, but we don't know. 51 seconds for Gwyndaf, a couple of seconds quicker than Robbie Head. Gwyndaf with Howard Davis. Howard says about Gwyndaf, you know, he's so focused, he's got eyes like 2 golf balls, never seems to blink.
Gwyndaf looks more like a choir boy with rosy red cheeks. He's the most amazing driver that's been from the Welshman. And these two are very close. In fact, there, the mistake has been made. I thought Robbie Head was closer than Gwyndaff on those two hairpins, but he got caught in the sludge, went in too quickly. And now it's going to be a very, very tight thing. Gwyndaff under the bridge. Robbie Head over the bridge. I think the gap's too large. This is going to go to the Seat. Into the final turn. It looks ever so close, but if Gwyndaff keeps it neat and tidy, he's going to stop the clocks at...
Well, 1 second difference. One of the best of British against Luis Clement.
Of course, Clement in the Group N Mitsubishi, so this is the more production-based four-wheel drive over 2-litre class. So this should be very level actually between the Formula 2 cars. So it's four-wheel drive Clement has, but he hasn't got all the racing brakes and racing gearboxes.
Martin Rowe knows what he's going to be doing next year. We mentioned earlier on that Clement went off slightly there. We mentioned about Robbie Head losing his drive to Renault in next year in '98. This is the man who's taking over from him. Martin Rowe is going to be driving for Renault in '98.
Yeah, Martin Rowe, the latest of the young Chargers, these British stars. We've got Gwyndaff Evans, Alistair McRae, Mark Higgins, now Rowe joining them. And he's going to be interesting to see how his time compares around this tight and tricky course. But Clement looking very impressive out front at the moment.
And Martin Rowe is going to have a very experienced co-driver with him next year. Derek Ringer, who used to drive alongside Colin McRae, indeed, when Colin won the world title. He's going to be driving with Martin Rowe next year.
Right, Martin Rowe has closed the gap. This is good. If he can sneak it round that hairpin, good, Martin. Stay out of that slash on the outside. This one's going to be a close call at the finish. Clement goes under the bridge. Rowe goes over the bridge. It's going to be very tight. Down towards the final corner, neck and neck. Rowe's on the outside.
This is about as close as we've seen them, I think, right the way through the afternoon. Well, that's unusual because they were so close, and yet Clement 141, Martin Rowe 142.